know it's harsh to start after the break, but it will be okay because we had a lot of interesting discussion. Before starting today's second panel, we would like to thank Bitdefender as a gold partner and Adobe Romania as a silver partner.
Our story began in 2001 with a brave plan to secure every bit there was. The momentum Bitdefender has built over time grew exponentially. The core were our pioneering products, proving themselves reliable and innovative time and time again. Millions of people across the globe trust our technology to keep them safe on a daily basis, whether they're at home, in the office, or on the go. Providing innovation and unmatched services for our customers is our duty.
Innovative in a spaceship on top, got the bacon. Drop the patience, Hall of Fame, the record breaking. I'm in your face and I keep it blatant. Call up your squad on the phone, tell them the future is known. You ain't got time to get ready, already dropping confetti. Check this, this is happening now. Yeah, check this, this is happening now. This is happening now. Check this, this is happening now. This is happening now. Tell them don't wait up, sleep in your shoes, already laced up. No, they couldn't tame us, the future is here, you better wake up. Check this is happening now. Now, this is happening now. Check this is happening now. Check this is happening now, this is happening now.
Yes. Thank you for our partners, and I'm kindly ask you to take your seat, please, for our second panel. Now we will discuss about innovation, which stands as a cornerstone of economic progress, influencing consumer welfare, employment, environmental sustainability, and overall society well-being. Employment, environmental sustainability. It is also key to maintaining the EU competitiveness on global markets. In this panel, we will explore strategy for steering and financing innovation across the EU, driving prosperity and advancement for all member states. I will now invite on the stage Mr. Radu Puchiu, Technology Society Program Director, Aspen Institute, who will moderate this panel alongside our distinguished speakers. I will nominate them also. Mr. Lukasz Mark, Senior Economist, World Bank, please, on the stage. Mr. Marius Istrate, Chairman of the Board Tech Angels. Please take your seat. Also, Diana Șipoș, Vice President ANIS and Country Manager, Evident Technologies, Romania. Andra Tănase, Head of Strategy, Transylvania IT Cluster. Cătălin Grigorescu, Managing Partner by V. Grigorescu Ștefănică, and Mr. Fabrice Lasache, MEDEV VP for Europe and Chairman of Business Europe Committee for Entrepreneurship and SEMIS. The stage is yours, please.
So thank you so much. I just took a couple of moments to make sure that this is working. Last year, because I have all the guests with me today, last year I was part of a panel at the ANIS event, and I remember that I was very vocal about the state of digitalization in Romania. So I don't know if that's the reason, or because I'm Radu, is that I'm moderating this session today, but it's an invitation to the panelists to be vocal if they want to become the next moderator for the next summit, or change your name. It's up to you. So please feel free. Now, coming back to our panel subjects today, did you notice that everything is about innovation today. I mean, everybody is innovating. I don't know what you are doing in this room today and you're not innovating, but everybody innovates. I mean, who dares not to innovate these days? We have a wonderful session about AI, about a lot of companies that are using AI, boosting innovation. So everybody is doing that. Standing still looks like a nightmare. I mean, like for the Europeans, it was a joke that the nightmare of not innovating is like a fast car, electric, sleek, eco-friendly Chinese-American car passing next to you. So it looks like this. And it's quite a mantra these days, innovate or die. We hear this very much these days. But it's crucial. It's crucial because it's part of the evolution, and the fast progress of the technologies are somehow forcing us to, as companies, as governments, as regulators also, to be up to the speed, but also to stay competitive and not let the other global market out-innovate us. So this is the scene, a promising world, a better world that can be reached through rapid advancements. But how real it is, this innovation? What are the challenges here? And do we really innovate, especially in Europe? How? And what is the secret mix between regulation, financing, also growing these sectors that are part of the competitive advantage that Europe is looking for. So we promised ourselves to have an open discussion, and I'm honored to have today with me Lukasz Marek, senior economist at the World Bank, Fabrice Lesage, I believe it's correct, thank you, VP for Europe and Chairman of the Business Europe Committee for Entrepreneurship and SMEs at MEDEF, Diana Șipoș, Vice President at ANIS, Andra Tănase, Head of Strategy Transylvania IT Cluster, Marius Istrate, President Tech Angels, and Cătălin Grigorescu, Managing Partners, BPV Grigorescu Ștefănică. So, let's go straight to, because we have 1 hour and we are just before the lunch, and I think everybody has an appetite for innovation, and then following will have an appetite for the lunch, hopefully. So it's up to you to grow this appetite. But I will go straight to Mr. Lukasz March. You have an extensive experience working on innovation, and I know the World Bank is looking very much on entrepreneurship and also on regulating policy. So you have a broad view on the connection between all of these areas. So let's start with this perspective, if you don't mind. Do we die if we don't innovate?
Thank you very much for the invitation. Pleasure to be here. Well, I could say that we'll die regardless from what I know, and on this note we can go to the next question. But jokes aside, predicting is very difficult, especially if it comes about future. I learned it hard way as an investor as well in my private life. But we as economists try to understand the past and at least the present a bit, and understand like what's the role of innovation and all of these aspects that you said. How do they connect? And I will try to do it also in my first intervention. So if I have 10 seconds to say why we care about innovation, is that there is no truly high-income country that made it without R&D and innovation. And here too may be definition points. By truly high income, I mean not only according to the GDP per capita perspective, but also looking at the inequalities, at the education opportunities, about health, and so on and so on. So like Gulf countries are not really truly high income, with 80% of population living in a really bad situation because of the immigrants, I mean. Romania is on the way there, and in many aspects is there, but still there are still challenges around that. The other aspect is what do we mean by innovation? And here I'm taking like a relatively broad view of innovation. You also hinted at that. So we talk also about technology adoption and digitalization, up to inventions such as GPS, smartphones, and all the other aspects. So that's what we will cover. As the World Bank, I'm often asked actually, why do we focus here as well on innovation and entrepreneurship, and not only on the kind of entrepreneurship in the poorer areas and so on? And why does innovation matter? So the kind of answer that we are giving internally is that high productive economies lead to high quality jobs, and also to societal solutions that are good for the whole society. So that's why it's important. And then when we think about high productive economies, we can kind of disaggregate that into three aspects. Where does high productive economies are coming from? Number one, but not most importantly, is the fact that new firms that are entering the market are more productive than the firms that are leaving the market. And that is both entrepreneurship, but also startup innovation. And where does Romania stand for? Actually, we did quite a lot of work on that topic under Startup Romania, work with Row Startup. And I just want to put kind of two data points on that. On one hand, the number of new companies created is above what you would expect by GDP per capita. But Romania has the largest share of necessity entrepreneurship, 3 times bigger than in Poland, for example. So people are setting up enterprises because they have to, not because they want to or they have the gene for entrepreneurship. New enterprises are not startups. Vast majority of them are just new, small micro enterprises. Then the other number that I want to give here is Romania has one of the lowest share of innovative enterprises, and that is in all of the statistics. What are the solutions? We have actually listed them together with the community, many of you as well, 400 people that voted on the solutions, and they stemmed from regulatory aspects such as actually legislation to set up startups that with vested shares and all of these things that doesn't exist at the moment in Romania, or such as like, I don't know, startup visas, up to bigger financing for startup enablers, ecosystem, and the startups itself. It's all in this report. So that's one of the aspects, but what is even more important, the startups are actually the scale-ups, and that's kind of the second aspect where productivity is coming from. It's coming from the fact that firms are becoming more productive by introducing new machines, new managerial practices, or doing R&D. And here we also did quite a lot of analysis of that, and again, like 2 small points. One, on the digitalization and importance of that. We ran regular surveys during COVID, and we saw that firms that are more digitalized fared better in the COVID times, controlling for all the aspects of the size, sector, and so on. So there was a correlation. Firms that were more digitized had lower drop of sales and rebounded earlier. So that was showing that digitalization is important, but at the same time when we were asking, are you planning to digitalize? Are you planning to train your workers further? Those who were the least digitalized, they were most satisfied with their level of digitalization. So there is a huge perception gap as well, and that has consequences for the productivity and also how resilient firms are if the shocks are hitting. The other number that I want to give here is that Romania has the lowest collaboration between the private sector and the research sector. And that has to be supported. And that comes both from the fact that the research sector is admittedly not the strongest one within the European Union, but also there are not enough incentives for the two to talk to each other, to understand each other, and to jointly create some solutions. And then third aspect of the productivity, like where it's coming from, is coming from the fact that firms that are more productive can gain a higher share of the market. So, and that's not always the case. I did the research. I will give the example of Poland because I remember it a bit better, but we saw in food and metal sectors, firms that were less productive were able to increase their market share at the cost of the more productive ones, because probably of some regulation, monopolistic practices, or some other things. It's also the case in some of the sectors in Romania. We need to make sure that if someone has a good idea that is and firm that is more productive, that they can actually increase the market share, they can enter the new markets. For example, I don't know, Autonom entering the yellow caps market as well and offering higher service than what the yellow caps are offering. But also we need to make sure that firms that are more productive here can enter foreign markets. Across all of those three, as you can hear, is the role of the state. So the state has a role to play. I'm speaking to the audience. You're an example of a success. I'm coming from Poland. We are also a success country. 4% of GDP from ICT sector. You're 7 or 8%. That's an amazing companies. But often the growth here happened despite the fact that the state was not really helpful enough, the governments were not really helpful enough. And there is a lot to do because innovation is risky. And this riskiness has to be covered at the initial stages, especially by the public financing from EU sources or the national sources, because of the regulations that will allow the more productive firms to grow. So there is a large role of the state, and this is what we as the World Bank, we are trying to help MCHIT and other ministries in improving their policies so that in the longer term, Romania can truly set the foot in the high-income category across the spectrum and across the regions within Romania. Thank you.
Thank you for the optimistic view of what Romania is doing. But let's say we have a lot of space of growth now. But thank you. A lot of challenges indeed, and a lot of opportunities, as you mentioned. And thank you for these examples of how Romanian companies, but not only all the area, are growing in due to the at least using digital technologies, but also innovating in some areas. I'll move to Mr. Fabrice Lesachet. We heard even in the panel before on AI on this. You have innovation on one side, agility, competitiveness, but on the other side, you have safety, regulation, and all the others. So looks like an impossible mix of, or there is a fine line between innovation and regulation. Is you helping in this way? How your organization and the companies that you represent are seeing this? Sometimes, at least for me, it looks like accelerating a car, but also keeping the foot on the brake. How do you see it?
Not working. Do you have 2 hours?
Yeah, no problem.
Do you have 2 hours for the answer? You are sure?
No problem.
You are not hungry?
No problem.
Okay, so more seriously, I think that in your introduction, you said something very important. You said that everybody wants to innovate. And there is no forum today in Europe, in the world, where you don't have a panel, a conference about innovation. Because this is where the added value is. Everybody wants to grasp innovation to make more money at the end of the day. The issue or the problem, and maybe I will be a bit disappointing, is that there is no magical solution. There is no one recipe. And even more, there is no short-term victory. And I say this coming from a country that 20, 30 years ago was not very famous for innovation. And we had a very long way with lots of lobby. We did exactly what Concordia and Anis is doing in Romania, convincing our government to put in place the measures, the regulation, the framework. So lots of technical points. We can speak about skills, how we transform the market, the labor market, how we have this financing revolution, no private equity nearly in France 30 years ago. Today, more deals in Paris than London, which is for me astonishing, and Berlin. You have in Paris Station F, which is a bit the cathedral of innovation and startup today, but it is a symbol. It means that the young people want to create a company. And you will not get this by regulation. It's not because you ease the creation of a company that people will create company. It's a spirit. You want to be entrepreneur, you want to take risk. And so there is also a big cultural pattern in all this. Not to be averse to risk. And if you want to go to the EU side of the discussion, the problem is that we see always the risk. You speak about artificial intelligence, the risk of destruction of job. But we need artificial intelligence. You see the demography in Europe, demography in Romania, we need productivity. We need to create the new jobs with artificial intelligence. By the way, even if it's not the same thing, we had the same debate when it was for automizing the factories, and we see that the country with most robots are the countries with the lowest rate of unemployment. South Korea, Germany, Singapore, US. So the one that invest in technology, in innovation. And then there is also a link between public and private sector. To establish this link is not so easy. And here again, it's not only about technical solution, regulation, how you will get the financing flow. Of course, it's important, the capital market union at EU level. Otherwise, how you will finance beyond 50 million? We see that European savings today is financing American innovation. And this trend is even bigger every year. So we need to think what instruments we can have to have a competitive financial industry, to keep the savings here, and even to attract foreign investment. France, for the last 5 years, was a European country that attracts most of foreign investment. So beyond the cliché of strikes, of a country that is a bit old, that is a bit weak, today there is this kind of dynamic. It took us 20 years. When we lost the industry in France, because we lose it in the last 20 years, now since 5-6 years, we only start, after many efforts, to see the first time where we have positive employment in the industrial sector, where we gain factories. So it takes time, and cultural revolution is more important for me. It cannot be only technical measure. This is my key message, if you want. And at European level, we need to work together, all together, and we need Romania. Romania has more than 30 members of parliament. And sometimes on some text, one deputy can change the course of things. And you see, Europe is deciding for our future. We don't have the choice. So we need Romania, private sector, to be very involved at European level and to have a cooperation with us, with Business Europe, and with other countries as well.
Thank you so much for the message, and I see the link between not only Romanian efforts, but also connecting with the European efforts and making a more competitive ground, but keeping the fine line, as I mentioned, between those two. I'll move now to Romanian context with Mrs. Diana Sipoș. Let's zoom in to Romania. I confess I see a paradox here. We have a lot of representatives for successful companies. We have a growing IT sector. A minister was mentioning that how important is it in GDP impact and so on. But on the other hand, we have the, let's say, diplomatically, we are on the lowest ranking positions in terms of digital education, companies using digital technologies, and so on. So how this happens? How can we transform it towards a successful model, if you want? So what Anis was doing, how can we scale it, if you want?
Can you hear me? Yes, so thank you very much for the question. Indeed, as in many aspects of our lives, we live in two worlds in Romania. We have on the one hand side the IT sector who has been performing very well, and we need to praise it for that, with a contribution to GDP of around 8% with 2 digits year-on-year growth in the past decade, and working with or employing around about 200,000 experts. And on the other hand side, we have this low ranking in DESI report showing quite last place in Europe in terms of digital skills overall in the population. Also a low adoption of advanced technologies in the private sector, in businesses, in SMEs. And what we need to do, and we are looking also in ANIS at these aspects, is to try to bridge these two worlds, to make use of our strength in order to reduce our weaknesses. This is basic things that we do also in business, every one of us in our lives as well. And how do we do that? I think our greatest strength right now is our workforce, our experts, our employees, and we need to take care and invest massively in upskilling, reskilling, retaining, and attracting people in IT, because they will be the force to adopt these new technologies, to use them further, to innovate, and to bring wealth in the businesses, to make our businesses relevant. And this will also bring welfare. And what we will do with this money, we need to invest, again, in education, but now at, let's say, at education of the general public. Even in schools, we need to look at what we teach our children. I have a 12-year-old learning in a public school in Romania, and I have hard times reading the manual, the IT. They have IT class, and it's about hardware components and I don't know, software language, and there's no link to the everyday life. So we need them to understand what technology is used for and how it is linked to the everyday life. And bringing this into schools will elevate the level of digitalization in society. On the other hand side, if we upskill our experts, then they will bring technology in businesses at a higher level. So we need to increase the usage of AI, cloud adoption, big data in our businesses, and this is something that will benefit us all. And of course, as the topic of today is innovation, we need to look at this topic seriously. We are looking at it at ANIS. We have been advocating for public-private partnerships, for incentivizing private companies to spend more money to invest in innovation in R&D. We are ranking last in Europe also in terms of R&D spent, with 0.45% of GDP. Therein only 1/3 spent by private companies, while the rest is in R&D institutions. And we need to bring also the private sector more engaged into spending and innovating, because they will produce commercially viable products, services that will benefit us all, and it will be, like you said, increasing jobs, relevance, value, quality, and having more value add in Romania.
Thank you. Yes, because as Mr. Marek was saying, the countries that are using the technologies are with the lowest unemployment, and as you mentioned also, the automatization of the processes also didn't remove jobs apparently. Thank you so much. I'll move to Mrs. Andra Tanase. Because you are the head of the strategy at the Transylvania IT cluster, and I know that the European Commission put a lot of let's say pressure, but also investing quite a lot in terms of creating this link between European funds and the companies, and you have a role here, but you have also a role of bringing or advocating for using technologies, helping companies to use these new technologies, but also help them to get financed investments and so on. And you are quite important at the regional level. My question is around what are the secret ingredients that you see on the ground? How can you accelerate this transformation at the level of companies? We mentioned that we are in the last position, so how can we fastly improve that?
Thank you for the question, and thank you for the invitation. If those ingredients were secret, I wouldn't tell them, would I? Actually, many of the things that we are doing are not secret at all. Yes, as Transylvania IT, we are a cluster encompassing more than 160 companies. Vast majority being SMEs, but also having companies, quite large companies in our cluster, making money and also contributing to the community. What you described in the introduction were many of the things that we are doing as a European Digital Innovation Hub. And we are one of the European Digital Innovation Hubs, selected both at the European and at the national level. And these DIHs, that's how we call them, DIH in English, but in Romanian, DIHs. As DIHs, we engage in being this one-stop shop, trying to encompass providers and to bring them together, providers of technology with adopters. And the main purpose of the Digital Innovation Hubs is to increase the digital transformation of SMEs and of public authorities. And this is also what we're doing in the European Digital Innovation Hub in Transylvania, the DIH which we are coordinating. And it's quite an important structure also because some of the previous speakers mentioned the fact that we still need more collaboration between the academic sector and the private sector, between the public and the private sector. And DIHs are exactly doing that through a complex palette of actions and services, which are training and skills, networking and ecosystem building, basically what we're also supposed to do here, and hopefully we will be doing more and more and interactively. Test before invest. And I would draw the attention of the importance of this test before invest, because it means actually putting infrastructure from universities, from research centers, from clusters, from the public sector at the disposal of digital innovation. And test before invest would be a strategic element in which also this pool of money that we heard earlier, that we have actually the money, how to invest it, would be good to put these funds into this type of infrastructure, which allows innovation and digital transformation. And support to find investment. So these are the mechanisms with which we work as a digital innovation hub. Now, let's go to the secrets as well. I was thinking to share with you today one element which we think it's quite important. We talk about digitization, digitalization, digital transformation, and especially in the tech sector, we know that the concept is, come on, you can say it, from the three amigos, this is how they are called, which is the one that we mostly tend towards, digitization, digitalization, or digital transformation. I don't hear anything. Yes, bingo, I don't have a prize, but the lunch is getting close. So digital transformation. And this digital transformation, aside from the explanation that, in digitization, we change the piece of paper with the electronic format. In digitalization, we invest in infrastructures, in processes. Digital transformation has at its core mindset change. And I think this is one of the critical elements and of our secret. This mindset change towards collaborative effort. We talked about elephants. I think by now we have a herd in the room. I would add another one, and this is competition. And between competition and collaboration, it's often a fine line. In my previous life, I worked in peace building, and there we talked a lot about collaborative leadership, which actually I think it applies quite well. Collaborative leadership means using each one's potential, working in collaboration between the actors in any sector, and in this way providing leadership, turning this competition into a collaborative ecosystem. So the mindset change that stands actually at the core of digital transformation is the shift towards collaboration. It's the shift towards problem solving. In Romania, we say we are a lot in Valea Plângerii. I have no idea how to translate this in English. Is this weeping valley? So we're quite melancholic as a people, and we complain a lot. We know what the problems are, but we tend to stay there and not go towards solution. And in IT, in technology, this is one thing that we're making the click in our minds. So mindset change towards problem solving, towards transforming these problems. And the other mindset change is towards an ecosystemic approach, and I said a few words about that. I don't know if you want to stop me or I can say a few more, just a few.
Please.
Yeah?
Please.
Okay. This being one element, the mindset change, and 1 + 1 is more than 2 often. And also in our sector, we are many associations, even in the technology, and it would be great to improve the collaboration in events like this, but also beyond, in advocating and implementing policies. We talked earlier about the national strategy about artificial intelligence. We also worked collaboratively with quite a lot of actors for a national strategy that supports European digital innovation hubs. It would be great if you can look over it, give some thoughts, because I think it's still under consultation, and it is one of the dreams come true. And also in terms of funding, which is an elephant in the herd, the European Digital Innovation Hub marked quite an impressive step. Collaborative funding mechanisms where we are funded with all the headaches involved, but we are funded both by Europe and our government. So it is possible. Another secret would be that we strive to be trendsetters, not only followers. I appreciated the fact that we always start with the European perspective, at least in the previous panels. But we do have something to say also on our own. And it wouldn't hurt sometimes to acknowledge that and to state, because we cannot only follow good practices. If we follow talking about innovation, we'll always trail behind. So this is something that is, to state, we do it in the many projects that we are in, and we would say that it's worthwhile doing because we got to that point where we have a voice in the European Parliament, in the different settings. As a cluster, not only that we have this gold standard, but we are very proud that we managed to be on the innovation radar. So yes, we are last in DESI and innovation scoreboard, in the investment in research and innovation. But we have these examples that could drive the dialogue further. Strategic approach would be, it's also my title at Transylvania IT, so I'm a big fan of strategy, but it's also something that is quite healthy, starting from data-informed and grassroots needs from the companies, so really addressing those needs. Perhaps in the Romanian context, we do need to look sometimes at digitalization or a digitization, because these are the needs. Let's look at them and working with them. Having a vision and a goal, and actions implemented by the best people. We are very proud of our companies, our member companies. We are very proud of the people we collaborate, the universities, the research center, the public authorities. So this is something that we try to put in place and always supplement the actions with standards. And this is perhaps something to talk about further. The standards that we do need to develop now that we have the investment in digital transformation in the industry. What are the standards that we are measured against in the digital competencies? I throw another elephant in the room. The occupation code, core. Try to find the future jobs there. This is also an elephant for the next panel, I think, towards the end. So I leave it there with the digital mindset, innovative mindset as an ingredient, with aiming to be trendsetters, with having a strategic approach, and with a kind request or a push or not so kind statement that we need also coherent policies. If those policies are coherent with these needs, definitely we can move faster or healthier in the direction of innovation and digitalization. So I would really hope that the demonstrated support for innovation comes also with innovative policies.
Thank you so much. So many elephants in the rooms. Mr. Grigorescu, I'll move to you. You help companies transition their existing business model to new technology-first business models, and I noticed what the digital innovation hubs are doing, but from the other perspective, you also help companies to operate and to get investment at the global level. So it's a perspective from which you see different markets, different regulators, different investment opportunities, if I may. So for the companies in the room, but not only, also for the regulators also, from your experience, what are the barriers that they see that the businesses need to overcome? I mean, it's one thing to be local, it's another thing to get operating at a global scale. Which mix do you think is encouraging innovation or helping that? Because this is the subject today. Thank you.
Yeah. I think it's a very daring move from your side to bring in a lawyer on a non-legal conference to give hope to the audience. Usually it's just the opposite. Everybody's left depressed. So at least I'm counting on the launch that they will bring up your mood again. Of course, as you know, as a professional, I'm a lawyer as a profession, but I'm also a business advisor and somewhat educated investor. So I see all sorts of barriers here and globally. And you know, I'm torn apart because, of course, as a lawyer, I like barriers. Everybody comes to a lawyer as a means of last resort, and they want to lift the barrier. But as a business person, obviously, I'm probably sharing the same sentiment as you, that we would like to, or hope that we'd like to see as few barriers as possible. We're talking a lot about innovation. I think it's pretty much just as a buzzword nowadays that it is, you know, reversing your biological age. But I think the one thing that we should bear in mind is that innovation has been there since the beginning. I think the innovation is just the opposite of the status quo. So you cannot move forward as a society, as an economy, as a person, if there is not constant innovation. The reason why we're talking more about innovation nowadays is because the pace of innovation has increased, especially in the digital world, and whoever makes a first successful step is very likely to take a very healthy advantage for a long period of time until everybody else catches up, if they really manage to catch up. Well, obviously, if you intend to catch somebody up, assuming this would be the EU trying to catch up with everybody else or with some of the other competitors, then of course having more barriers, it's not going to make you very successul. I think some of the barriers are structural, and they're just general observations from my side, maybe as a business person. It's nothing to do with legal. Is that, first of all, as my distinguished panelist said here, it's a cultural mindset, and I think it's very helpful if you want to be successful, is to have a very business first mentality, winner takes all, and obviously with that a higher appetite for risk. I think we're not generally famous for being so. Usually we also like to have a lot of safety net below us when we jump into something. It's probably the very state pattern mentality where we want to be saved by somebody in the end. So also, I think statistically we waste a lot of time on chit chat and small talk before we get to business, and I think this also contributes to a lot of success or lack of success in certain circumstances. Then there is the issue of financing, both private and public. I think in terms of private financing, I think we just probably managed, depending on which figures you're looking at and who's doing the statistics, but I think we just manage as Europe as a whole, or Western Europe as they usually catch it for statistic purposes, is that we managed to gather the same, probably roughly the same level of private capital as the US. Yeah. It's just that the allocation is very different, because most of the large venture funds or venture capital available for large rounds, so like C, D, and beyond, is still available in the US. And if you think about sponsoring or supporting financing projects in the area that's, as discussed, AI, which requires huge investments. I just read there was an investment yesterday, 1 billion into I think it was Series D, one company doing AI solution, AI-enabled autonomous driving for, as a platform for all manufacturers. So these are this is the magnitude we're talking about, and this is not available, or not as much available in Europe as it is somewhere else, particularly in the US. Also, private sector can do so much, but also the public sector can have a tremendous influence. So we're still speaking about investment or money allocation in the US to the tune of 20 billion already for R&D in the AI, quantum computing, microprocessors, in the industries and solutions, and this is a big difference. Imagine this being approved in Europe and what it would take. And this leads me to another structural element, which is the structure of our decision-making bodies and governments, yeah, with all the difficulty in aligning at EU level. So if this is becoming so difficult, then maybe what we need to do is not have a very heavy-handed regulation as we used to do in the past, but maybe have some smarter, light-handed regulation that is easier to apply at European level, and then put all our efforts into the lack of coordination that I think was mentioned in the previous panel too. And also, yeah, we need to consider also that despite the fact that we want to align and act as one at European level, we're still competing on an individual country basis, much more than other federal structures are competing in other parts of the world with each other. And I think this is also something which regulation does not help to overcome easily. Yeah. And then, you know, in the end, I could, you know, step down to the more mundane stuff. I think everybody thinks about all sorts of roadblocks that they have encountered in their daily lives, and there would be many. You know, you would put them under some kind of a red tape label, from dealing with government to, you know, other heavy regulation. You know, there's so much to do. We don't need to think, I mean, of course we need to think about AI regulation, but I also need to think about more basic stuff like, for example, flexible corporate structures. This is often neglected, and very few people know that you have 27 corporate law regimes in EU, and they're not very much aligned. Yeah? You still have notarization requirements in some countries, and luckily that's not Romania, by the way. And there is no, and for investment, for just improving the investment, the ability to do investments very fast, we're also lacking standardized documents, which admittedly in other, you know, in the US or UK, they've been set up by industry organizations and not by the states. And this is also very difficult to do at European level. We're working in a group at the, you know, there's a lawyers organization, International Bar Association. They're just working on a set of clauses for standard early stage investment in startup companies. This is a project that's been running for 3+ years. It's still nowhere near to complete. Whereas NVCA and BVCA, so National Venture Capital Association and British Venture Capital Association, have standard documents for, I don't know, already 15 years, maybe 10 at least. Yeah. So that's really where we are. And of course, you know, you go to lawyers and business is being done and the transaction is done and the investment is successful. But sometimes the cost of it is just time and money, could be higher than going to the US, which is notoriously costly for legal fees and tax advisors and everything else. So basically, this time we should be counting in that we're losing. We should be counting in money and, you know, speed of execution.
Thank you so much. So it's a rather complex looking at this topic from the financing perspective in terms of companies to be successful. I mean, it's not only the idea, it's not only the innovation that I provide. There are a lot of steps to be taken, and they need a lot of help from this perspective. And moving to Mr. Mario Sistrate, you are the president of Tech Angels, and you have a hands-on approach on that, and you know that we have our discussion about we had even today deregulating or regulating as little as possible, but on the other hand there are subjects that need more regulation, and angel investors, especially in Romania, needs some framework to operate, not the one we have today. Are we doing steps into that and getting the right mix that Mr. Grigorescu was talking about, at least at the initial steps for a company? How do you see this? Are we on the right track or still having some barriers in front of us?
So I think I realized why you kept me last, so that I would strike an optimistic note and end on a high note. So listen, overall, things are looking extremely good in terms of what we're seeing as business angels at the level of technical companies. Just a few figures for those of you who don't know. Tech Angels is the largest business angel network in Romania. It's been around for 11 years, having invested 45 million euro, individual, so private money so far, money from our pockets that we put into companies at inception, pre-seed and seed level. Some of it at follow-on, if things go well. We screen approximately 300 startups every year. The majority of them are Romanian. When I say Romanian, I mean founded in Romania or by Romanians living abroad. We see in pitching sessions approximately 120 startups every year, and we invest in 25 to 30 startups. Last year, members of our group invested 3 million euro in total. This year, members of our group are projected to invest approximately 4 million euro into technical startups. We calculated based on the density of technical talent that we were talking before and what we're actually doing and what the other angel networks are doing. We're probably covering 25-30% overall in the country right now in terms of financing, together with the other actors. We're probably only supporting about a quarter of the entrepreneurs that would need supporting. Still, one can argue it's, for the ecosystem, it's good to select those that have a higher propensity to become champions. So from this point of view, we are optimistic. Again, Romania has the highest density of technical talent in Europe, period. So number of engineers per 100,000 people. And this is a good starting point. Is it enough? No. Of course. As business angels and as investors, what we like to do is run. And we like to run extremely fast. Our purpose is to be able to run extremely fast, to support these companies, to support them to, it makes a huge amount of difference for a company if the time to wire them the money at the inception level is 2 weeks or 3 months or 6 months. I mean, it's a huge difference, just a huge difference for a company at inception level. We have an obligation as investors to run. So for us, there are things missing, definitely, in terms of regulation locally. I mean, just the status of business angel is not yet fully recognized. So, I mean, even the most basic stuff, although there are European rules about that since a while now, since 2015. But okay, we still have to run. We still have to go and do what we should do, which is support these companies. Quite simply put, we can't let these things stand in our way. The trouble for us in Romania, I think, overall, and maybe for some of the people in this room, is there are too few of us financing these startups. Either directly as angels or indirectly as LPs into venture capital firms. I think it's a huge missed opportunity for high net worth individuals who have disposable income. I don't know that regulating business angel investments and private investments is going to help raise awareness. It might, it's worth doing. But I know for sure that right now there's a huge missed opportunity. And unfortunately, not many people in this room have been able to benefit from a success story like UiPath. I mean, by being investors in it before, or investors in the VC firms that were in it before it went public. And I'm not sure that many people in this room, or many high net worth individuals, are able to capitalize and to have any gains from other success stories that are emerging right now. So my encouragement to all of you, and please take this with a positive note. You know, it starts with us. It starts with us who are business executives, who are leaders of businesses, especially in the IT&C field. I mean, it's obvious to be more interested, to have more skin in the game. Many of you are running their own successful companies. Many of you, you don't even know it yet, but you're going to be running the future champions, the future tech product champions of Romania and Europe. Yeah, I think it's important to have skin in the game. And I would, you know, like to focus on this message rather than, you know, yeah, we can do stuff around regulation for sure. Let's do it. Let's do our homework, right? Having the framework, having the basic infrastructure, it's healthy, it's good, but it shouldn't in any way prevent us from running and doing as much as we can extremely fast. So this is key, because I think Fabrice was saying earlier, you know, it took France 20 years to kind of cover up some terrain, and we don't have 20 years, just to be clear. In Romania, we don't have 20 years. I realize that's the amount of time it takes, but we don't have those 20 years. We probably have one investment cycle ahead of us of like 5 to 7 years, where we have to cover for a lot of ground.
Thank you so much. I'll take 5 minutes from the audience and from the lunch, just to quickly put you a question. Well, we see this innovation background that we need it, and you all emphasize the need for innovation, the need to do it now, and the need to be more competitive at Romanian level, at European level, and so on. And there are a lot of challenges to overcome. Indeed, a lot of elephants in the room. But if it's one thing that you would do tomorrow to boost innovation in Romania or Europe, what would be? And it's like a genie in a bottle, you know, granting your one wish. Which would be? I will start with you, Marius.
Simple. So very simple. Money. More money. I'm very American about this. I think you can solve any problem with the right amount of money. We just need to pour in a lot more money. And some of you are laughing, but I genuinely believe this is the solution. We need to give ourselves more air to breathe, and in the space of technological innovation, that air to breathe is money in whatever shape and form. I'll start by asking individuals in this room to reflect on this. If you have disposable income, how you can be a part of the future success stories that Romania and Europe are creating.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Grigorescu. I'll try the reverse order, please.
Working? Yeah. It's really difficult, but something which is really close to my heart now is to consider how we can streamline regulation for employee stock option plans and generally participation of employees in the success of the company.
Thank you. Andra, please.
Not money. Not money.
Not money. Okay.
Instead of searching for answers, searching for questions, searching for the right questions and answering them. And this is a way to say, educate ourselves, not to predict the future, but to make it. And I know it sounds idealistic, but I think it's idealistic realism based everything that was said.
Thank you. Diana, please.
I would also go for money, but money, we need money and regulation. And a quick win in this aspect would be to revise the incentives framework for R&D to make it available, usable, simple, and even increase the percentages so that it is available to the to all sectors. So it's not only IT, to all sectors of economy. And I would also advocate for adding some additional incentives like IP box regime and other aspects that are OECD recommended also by OECD, World Bank, and many experts.
It's 1 wish, not 3 wishes. Marek, back to you.
Yeah, so as the World Bank, we look at the public sector as well. So in addition to money, I would say improve implementation, so plumbing, kind of make financing predictable, learn from previous programs, design better instruments, and also put the industry in the lead in research projects.
Thank you all so much, and please excuse if we kept you from the lunch break, but I think we kept it under 1 hour. We heard the alarm. Thank you so much for that. So once again, thank you to our panelists, thank you to our audience, and ready to further discuss during the lunch break. Thank you so much.
So thank you very much for insightful discussion. We will continue after the break lunch. Of course, at 2 p.m. You will see there another discussion about IT sector. It will be, please, it will be a new round of discussion dedicated to the preview of the annual IT industry report made by ANIS this year in collaboration with the Bucharest Academy of Economic Studies. It will be interesting. I'll assure you. See you after break lunch. Thank you.